This program is brought to you by the City of Fountains Coaches Association.
Carlos Nelson with Cascade Sports, and today we have another HBCU coach. This coach is right in our neck of the woods with us being here in Kansas City. Who do we have here?
I'm John Moseley, Director of Athletics and head men's basketball coach at Linc University in Jefferson City, Missouri.
All right. Hey, Coach, with the quick step, give our audience a little bit of information about who you are, where you come from, how you arrived at your position. Normally, I had been Coach's hour-long interview, but that's why I say with the quick step. Let our audience know a little bit about yourself.
Good deal. Well, I'm originally from the state of North Carolina. I went to East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. Was fortunate enough to begin my coaching career immediately after college. Went to the University of Delaware. Came back to North Carolina as a high school coach for a couple of years before jumping back into the college ranks at Wright State University in Ohio.
And then I got to State University.
I was at Wright State in Dayton, Ohio, and for 1 year, and then migrated down to Winston-Salem State University. And I had a great time at Winston. We were Division I, making the transition to Division I during my time there. Before I had an opportunity to return to East Carolina, where I went to school, and I was there for 2 years. Joined Lavelle Moulton's staff on a Central for 4 years. We had a great run in the MEAC. We made they were transitioning to Division I while I was there. We made the school's first appearance in Division I NCAA men's basketball tournament in 2014. We had a tremendous team, and then the opportunity presented itself here at Lincoln. I've been here since April of 2014, so now 6 years as the basketball coach, and just finished number 5 as the athletic director.
Hey, Coach, did you play?
I played in high school. I realized very quickly in college that my minutes would be limited, and I wanted to coach. So the coaches there invested in me as a student and set me on my path to being a coach.
So you knew you wanted to coach early.
I knew since the 7th grade I wanted to be around sports for the rest of my life. Basketball was my passion. I believe in the value that all of athletics teaches to young people. There's so many life lessons that are involved in sports that I think benefit young people for the rest of their lives. And so I've known since very early in my career that I really only wanted to do one thing.
Hey, Coach, every place you've been, I've almost been. I started out at Virginia State down in Petersburg, and I ran track, and I used to come down to North Carolina quite a bit because half my high school team went to North Carolina Central, and I used to be all over Winston-Salem and all them schools. And then you just said you were at Wright State. I finished up at Central State right down the road. How did you like Ohio?
Ohio was different for me, but I had a great time there. I worked for Brad Brownell for a year, who's now the head coach at Clemson University. I learned a ton about the game of basketball during my time there. We went to the NCAA tournament. That was in 2006-07. It was his first year at Wright State, and we had a beautiful arena. It was a Ohio State Buckeye State, but because of our success that year, we actually beat Butler University twice. In fact, we beat them in the conference tournament championship to go to the NCAA tournament, which is a night that I won't long forget.
You'll never forget.
It was fun, man. It was a fun time. I was really fortunate. Again, I think throughout my career, if you look at my career and the places I've been around great people at every stop. And truly, I think that's what makes the difference in lives.
Who's been one of your main mentors?
Well, Mac McCarthy at East Carolina. I was with Mac. Mac was formerly a head coach at UT Chattanooga. He was the head coach at Virginia Commonwealth, and he gave me an opportunity to return to my alma mater. He was really important and still remains to this day. I speak to Mac via phone to check in, run situations by him. I've worked for great guys going back to my college days with Joe Dooley, who happened to return. He was an assistant at KU. for Bill Self for quite a bit before he jumped to Florida Gulf Coast, and now he's back at East Carolina University. Lavelle Moulton has been tremendous and is a rising star, and really a star. I mean, he's no longer rising. He's already had a tremendous run at North Carolina Central. Bobby Collins, who's been around the HBCU world for a little bit between Hampton, Winston-Salem State. Bobby just got the job, I believe, at one of the CIAA schools. I'm not exactly sure which one in North Carolina. It's been fun. I've already mentioned Brad Brownell. I've been fortunate just to be around really good coaches.
You know what? To me, that's something that the HBCU head coaches have in common. I think we've done maybe a dozen. All of y'all have been around star coaches that have reputations across the sports world. Raveling at this one, and John Thompson coached under this one, and some of these names I'm not familiar with, but they are giants in the profession, and I'm sure that you have learned quite a bit. Now let's go into what's going on down there at Lincoln. Tell me from the time you came in to Lincoln to where the team is at, and I want you to talk about wearing those two hats as athletic director and head men's basketball coach.
Well, I came in April of 2014. Kevin Rome was the president at Lincoln University. Dr. Rome had been a vice chancellor at North Carolina Central, which was where my previous stop was at. That's where our paths kind of crossed. He brought a gentleman on his staff out here to serve in a different capacity named Willie Jude. And Willie and I had worked closely together in the athletic department at North Carolina Central. And so I was aware of the vacancy here, came out, had a great visit. While I was here visiting the university, my wife was visiting the community. The program here had been bad for a few years. There's a lot of history here dating back to the 60s and 70s.
Right.
Tim Abney's a Kansas City guy who played here in the late 70s. Had a great career with another guy named Harold Robertson, who's been one of the best players to ever certainly play at Lincoln. Had a quick cup of coffee with the LA Lakers and made it to the final cuts. Harold's still in town. Tim Abney's still on our staff here as assistant athletic director and one of my right-hand people on the administrative side. But when I got here in April 14, I got really lucky in the summer of 14. I hired a guy named Ed Wilson who played at Southwest High School in Kansas City. Ed had been an assistant at Park in Penn Valley. He was an assistant at Penn Valley. He played at Park. He was an assistant at Penn Valley when I got here, and I found out about him. Didn't know him. Doesn't happen often in college coaching. Oftentimes you have to know somebody to give people a chance or to get a chance, and kind of took a chance on Ed, and man, it was a great roll of the dice.
He was up under Marcus Harvey.
He was under Coach Harvey. In fact, I talked to Coach Harvey during the process of hiring Ed, and we all know him as Coach Wu around here, and Wu's been a great assistant. He's been a great coworker and friend, and he's done a tremendous job in the recruiting area.
That was my next question. That gave you an ace in the hole on recruiting around here in Kansas City, I would think.
Well, I like to think I'm smarter than I look, and again, coaches are only as good as the players that they have. I think my first year we struggled a little bit. I had to learn how Division II worked from a recruiting standpoint. It's completely different in a lot of regards than Division I.
Talk about some of those challenges. Yeah, talk about some of those challenges, because off camera, we had some conversation about it's easy to say the HBCU didn't do this and the HBCU didn't do that, but when we interviewed your football coach and he was telling me all he had was 16 scholarships, where he's in a conference with Northwestern. They have 30 scholarships. They have millions of dollars, and all that shows up in the second half, or what have you. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, the first thing for me was just the difference between as a Division I basketball coach, your only decision on a student athlete or prospect is, are you going to give them a scholarship or not? It's full or nothing. Division II, there's different levels that you can give, different amounts. So really, I compared to being a Division II head coach to being an NBA GM, where you have a salary cap you have a pool of money that you're trying to fill the team, and some guys get a little bit more than others. Some guys may not start out very much, but they earn the opportunity to get more as they go, and they grow and produce better. And so that's a challenge. Not all of us are created equal. From a basketball standpoint, we have the least amount of scholarships typically in the MIAA, but we've had success. We got beat my first year, and then after that, we brought in some better players, bottom line, and then we started winning. And so we had 4 straight winning seasons from the beginning of 2015 through 2019 season. We struggled a little bit this year. We still had a decent run at it, and we were able to make the conference tournament there in Kansas City and get another win. So now we've made the conference tournament 5 out of my 6 years, and we've won at least one game in 4 of those. And so we feel like we've turned the corner in some regards. We've earned respect in the conference. We believe that the MIAA is the best Division II conference in the country. It's headquartered in Kansas City. Now we're the furthest school east in the MIAA with the departure of some other schools here in the state of Missouri. But it's really good basketball. I mean, the MIAA has won 3 of the last 5, I believe, national championships that have been played, with Northwest winning 2, Central Missouri winning 1. I compare the Lincoln job to being Tennessee State in the OVC because we're the only HBCU in the conference. Mm-hmm. Makes it a little different. And, I came from the MEAC where every school was an HBCU. So some of the same challenges that HBCUs face were faced by everybody in the league. And so that's a little different here. But we've made absolute the best of it. We've gotten tremendous support from our alumni and from our local community. We started the Blue Tiger Athletic Club, and that's been a great asset for us to try to level the playing field. What does
that do? Tell our audience what that does. And because we're Kansas City, we have a lot of Kansas City coaches and alumni looking at the program. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, booster clubs are significant. We have membership levels as low as $100. 100% of your membership goes back to directly support our athletic programs. And so the athletic club 2 nights ago gave us $25,000 that we're going to distribute amongst our athletic programs and they can use it in scholarships or whatever the needs of their students are for the fall, which certainly helps. But in the grand scheme of things, $25,000 is a drop in the bucket. A scholarship right now, the cost of attendance to go to Lincoln is around $19,874. And so when you think about the equivalency of one scholarship, that's what you're looking at. And so we appreciate any alums that happen to view this, whether they're in Kansas City and other parts of the country, to give back to Lincoln University, to allow for our athletic programs to be better. We believe that athletics is the front porch of the institution, and that it connects current students, former students, alumni, communities, and so the better we are, the better the university can be.
How have you been able to deal with the COVID-19?
Well, it's been a challenge for all of us. Our men's and women's track teams were at the national championships in Alabama when all of this started. Our men were number 1 in the country in Division II. The women were number 2. Our women's track program has won 14 national championships in the last 17 years. And so we thought we were poised to have a chance to win both the men and the women. And we didn't get that opportunity because the championships were ended early. We got back to campus. We got all of our athletes out of here. It was about the time that we were on spring break. And then we never returned to campus. We went to online learning. But our athletes did a tremendous job in the spring.
How did they respond to it? Because I know when you're a senior, and what I should say, how did your seniors respond? And you're really looking forward to really topping it out, especially if you're a high quality athlete and you were right there the year before. You're looking really to take the crown. How did they respond personally?
Well, it's been good. From an academic standpoint, we had 101 of our athletes make a 3.0 or better. We had 32 of them made 4 perfect 4.0s in the spring. So academically, they went home and took care of business. Athletically, fortunately for our spring sports athletes that were seniors, they do have the opportunity to come back and complete their senior year athletically. Some of them may be finishing their academic responsibilities and graduate, maybe start grad school next year with the opportunity to come back next spring and complete their playing careers. And so we've given them the option. Fortunately, as a university made the decision to host graduation on August 1st this year, to again try to give our seniors, not only our athletes, but the university seniors, an opportunity to graduate and celebrate that milestone in front of their friends and family. And so we're working on those plans right now with the goal of an August 1st graduation.
What pieces are you missing with the basketball team that you feel that will get you over that hump?
Well, it's a matter of scholarships. We're in Division II. We're allowed 10 scholarships. We're currently operating with about 8.2. So we're about $30,000, $35,000 a year from being fully funded from a scholarship standpoint. When I first got into Division II, my first year, I had a conversation with Ben McCullum, who's the head coach at Northwest, and he's done a tremendous job there. Won 2 national championships, was number 1 in the country this year. And my first conversation with Ben was, hey, you need to get scholarship dollars. That's what he told me. He said, you can figure the rest out. You can find a way to buy T-shirts and shoes, but you need scholarships because you need players. And he was 100% correct. I've tried to follow that advice, and we've increased our scholarships some in the last couple of years, but we remain at or near the bottom in our league. But we haven't used that as an excuse as to why we can't be competitive. We've competed in the middle of the pack in this league, finishing as high as 5th. Even though when you look at it from a funding standpoint, on the information that's public, we're down near the bottom. But we as a university, we have to continue to drive enrollment. We need students from Kansas City, St. Louis, Memphis, Chicago, Omaha. We get students from the East Coast. It's a neat school with a great history. We're the only institution founded by African American soldiers that participated in the Civil War. This university was founded by the soldiers of the 66th and 65th Colored Infantry, at a time where Black soldiers weren't supposed to be reading, that these guys sat around campfires and read at night, taught themselves how to read, and believed in a vision of education for all. And fortunately, this university ended up in Jefferson City, Missouri. It's got a great history. It's been a lot of successful graduates, including Mr. Ollie Gates, Kansas City's very own. I mean, Gates Barbecue is always a stop whenever I'm in the city. And to think that guy, he used to walk around this campus and the success that he's had and the lives that he's touched beyond Lincoln University it's an amazing story.
Hey, Coach, I don't know. I asked you, did you watch the piece with the high school kids? But there was another piece that I did about 2 or 3 paragraphs. I usually don't write on a lot of subjects, but I was talking to the top 50 athletes in the country. The piece had all the HBCU logos, and I was pleading with them, and I think that is taking place slowly but surely. If a top 10 in the country athlete go to a HBCU, I didn't know this until having these conversations with you coaches. That can bring 300 million, 200 million to the university right away, because the shoe companies, the ESPNs, everybody's following them. That makes the difference in a program, like, bam. And a couple of these top athletes now, they're considering HBCUs. And in that piece, I talk about, you don't understand that you couldn't play in these white universities years ago. And your forefathers played at HBCU. And with this Floyd deal going on, there's a lot of awakening, not just in this country, about discrimination and so forth. This is a prime time for you to make a choice that can affect yourself, your family, and the community. In that piece, I talked about LeBron James. When LeBron James came out, they were saying, you need this type of management and you need this type of agent. He was like, no, this is my guy. He's going to manage me. And I'm not going to be, I'm the product. A lot of the kids don't understand that they are the product, and that everybody's going to eat off my plate. When I come to the NBA, the owner's going to make money, the shoe company's going to make money, everybody's going to make money. So you're not going to dictate to me. And I don't think that that awareness has been spread throughout the but Cascade Sports, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring the house is on fire. You need to do something. And if you're a superstar, you're going to be a larger star when you decide not to go to a big university if you're African American, I believe.
Right.
What's your take on that?
Well, it's true. You know, when I was just before I got to North Carolina Central, Lavelle had John Wall came on an official visit. John and Lavelle were very tight while I was there. Des Wells, who I went to Xavier initially, ended up transferring to University of Maryland. Des took a visit to North Carolina Central. You know, obviously, if you land either one of those two individuals, the trajectory of the program changes. Now, to Lavelle's credit, he continued to win with the players that we were successful in recruiting. But it's a big deal. I know more and more athletes today are talking about the possibility of attending HBCUs. It would be a huge deal. I'm not sure that many of them understand the history that surrounds it. Man, you look at the history of HBCUs and you see some of the individuals that have played at these.
Yeah, the Earl Monroes. Hey man, when you look at the history of the HBCUs, those were the first pro athletes.
Yes.
Come out of HBCUs, and that's what I basically in my piece tried. You know, our memories are very short, and I told you how old I was. I really, that was one of the places that I hadn't looked at HBCUs like that because I had scholarships to Brown, Syracuse, because I ran track. But my coach said, you won't last 2 seconds up there. And he was right on point. And HBCUs have that nurturing effect. I know that you know half the students or more than half the students, whether they play ball or not, when you walk in the yard.
Hey, there's a few things I want to go at right here. So first of all, I know it may be weird to look at me and say, "Oh, you're a coach at an HBCU." Let's be real, right? But I have a tremendous amount of respect for big house games from a coaching standpoint. I got to walk the halls of Winston-Salem State, and then John McClendon doesn't get the credit that he deserves for all the success that he has as a basketball coach. Now, there's awards named after him. Probably the inventor of the four corners that Dean Smith later became known for, but he learned it right down the street. I mean, less than 20 minutes from North Carolina Central's campus is UNC. And so I respect the history of the individuals that have come before me, and I know whose shoulders I'm standing on. The thing that this is my beginning my 12th year in an HBCU. Number one, my little community that you said you drove through to go to Durham, I lived in the first county that you entered in North Carolina. It's Warren County. Warrenton, North Carolina is where I grew up. It's a majority-minority community. And so if high schools were given labels, I went to an HBCU high school. I went to a majority-minority high school. And so this has been my life. I'm just comfortable being around.
I was going to say, you feel comfortable around Black people. You've been around them. You have friends, true friends that are Black people. That makes a difference. And you seem real relaxed, even this interview. I don't detect any of the plasticity that goes on in the field. And a lot of these kids don't really understand. You can go to a Division I. I'm talking about the average that can make it into that door. Sitting on the bench for 4 years, that's not ideal. And you're not looking at that because they have this money for the advertisement and other things. And you get there, coach he'll know you, but it's not going to be the ride that you think it's going to be. Right. And that's where you get all them transfers.
Well, you look at an HBCU campus. I mean, you touched on it a second ago. The thing that I have grown to appreciate so much on the HBCU campuses, as compared to the PWI campuses, is just the family of feel that you get on campus. There's people all over campus that are vested in your success as a student and as a person. And I've said that in many meetings with people when we talk about the university. That's really the biggest difference. When you walk around on HBCU campus and you see various people from different departments, not just in the athletic department, but from the registrar's office to the cashier's office, you typically run into people that want you to be successful because they understand many of the challenges that maybe have presented themselves prior to your arrival. And we want to send you out of here set up for successful life beyond this institution. And so the beautiful thing about what I do is I just get to be me. I know there's so much going on in the country right now. I see color everywhere I look, and I appreciate every doggone one of them. And it's good. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to fake anything. The guy you get to visit with this morning is going to be the same guy this afternoon at 3 o'clock. And so I'm comfortable being me, regardless of the environment that you put me in. And I feel like I can adapt. And so it's been great for me here. We've had tremendous young men in our program. Academically, I know for a fact we've turned the corner. I mean, just this spring, I had 9 of my 14 made 3.0s or better as a coach, and 4 of those.
You're proud of that, aren't you?
And I'm darn proud of my guys because, the thing about what we do is we want to use sport to create better men and not allow the game to use them, but allow them to use the game to get opportunities when they leave here. And so one of my players reached out this morning. He put a post on social media. I recently sent him a book. He talked about he wanted to read a little bit during this quarantine, so I sent him a book. And so we know that we're creating men that want to go back into their communities and be great husbands and be great fathers and be great people in their community that the young people can look up to and that they can help guide the next generation.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is, I have a whole lot of respect for your football coach. He, when he was giving me the rundown of what challenges he had, he said, but that's all right. I knew what I was getting into when I signed up. And I was like, oh, he was up for the challenge. It just amazes me because when I was at Virginia State, my first semester, I had an 0.7 grade point average. They'd be like, Mr. Nelson, no, you mean you had a 1 point? Nope. And that nurturing effect.
Somebody's trying to get in touch with you.
Yeah, and it translated all the way to Central State. They refused to let you fail. I must have took testing measurements and kinesiology 20 times, but Dr. Lewis was like, hey, Nelson, you're gonna take that until you're an old man and you're gonna pass it because we're gonna help you. And you're not gonna get that from a large university.
No, you're not. It's just that's just how it is. I mean, you're really fortunate if you do. You're one of a few, but it's way more common on an HBCU campus for you to have people that kind of wrap their arms around you and do their best to give you every opportunity to be successful. Now, you still have to take the steps yourself,
right?
But they're there to support you. We have tremendous assets on campus from a student support standpoint for all of our students, not just our athletes, but it's a matter of equipping students to help them get their educations, to prepare them for life after college, and let them get out there and make a difference in the world.
Hey, Coach, have your communications guy get in touch with us. Anything that you're putting out so that we can really support you. The only predominantly white institution that we really support is UMKC. I'm all HBCU, but y'all are the home team. And even with the refs, the home team call. And with my network, we're gonna get really behind. We're gonna get really behind you. So Do you have any closing words for our audience?
I mean, the thing I'll say is, number one, if it's basketball talent out there, we're not allowed to necessarily recruit or say names, but make sure that we know who you are. I think you and I talked before we actually started recording today about sometimes HBCUs don't know about the athletes. Well, there's things that we can do better to try to make sure that we avoid that. Out in the state of California, it's a lady that gets she brings everybody together for an HBCU showcase in the sports of football and men's basketball, and she brings them all to one community in California. She gets a bunch of coaches out there to evaluate their athletes, and maybe that's something that we can have created in Kansas City and get students from all over to get the exposure that they deserve, and to give coaches a chance to kind of one-stop shop to see the athletes perform, to see if they fit what the needs are at all institutions, HBCUs or whatever, just to give young people an opportunity to further their careers. And the other thing, if you're out there and you don't really care about sports, Lincoln's a great place to go to school. And we hope that you'll give us a look and give us an opportunity to earn your trust, for you to come here and be a student and have a great career as a student. Go back to your community and then tell other people about the great things that are happening in Jefferson City.
Hey, Coach, it was a pleasure having you on the show, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.